And Barbara, what are the vulnerabilities in the prosecution's case that the defense might seize on as they make their case today? And what are the biggest challenges the defense had?
Well, I think, Jose, the defense has really been focusing on the timing issue here, because the question on the form that Hunter Biden completed that is allegedly false is, are you addicted to drugs, and are you a user of illegal drugs? And he's trying to point out, Abbe Lowell, the defense attorney, that nobody actually knew whether Hunter Biden was using and addicted to drugs on the day in question or around that day. And I think the theory is that in Hunter Biden's mind, he was a recovering addict at that point. So, in fact, he did not lie. I think it's a little bit of an uphill battle in light of some of the other evidence. It's why this evidence of the cocaine residue in the pouch where the gun was stored can be very important, because it suggests that cocaine was being used then. But of course, that powder may have been there for some period of time. But it is why we're also seeing cross-examination, some of these text messages about, even though Hunter Biden may have been saying things about using drugs on those particular days, no one was with him to be able to confirm whether that was true. So I think it's an uphill battle, but that seems to be the strategy that the defense is pursuing here. Yeah,
Barbara, has there been talk on why the gun was thrown away in the first place?
Well, I think we had testimony from Hallie Biden, who was at the time involved in a romantic relationship with Hunter Biden, that she discovered it in his vehicle and was concerned that he would use it to hurt someone else or himself. And so she took it to a garbage can at a grocery store and got rid of it, where it was, later found by someone who was just sort of rummaging through garbage cans looking for bottles that were returnable. And so he's, I think, acknowledged that he bought the gun. I don't think that's really in any question. The question really is whether he, in his mind, believed at the time he was filling out that form that he was, in fact, using illegal drugs and addicted to using illegal drugs. It's difficult to refute the facts of what happened here, the acts. But I think that, what's in someone's mind is always difficult to prove, because we can't read other people's minds. And so it is often the area that the defense tries to rebut in their defense case.
Amy, the First Lady, as we were hearing from Ken, actually flew back from France to be in court today in a show of support. The president was asked on ABC News about his son's trial. Here's what he said.
Let me ask you, will you accept the jury's outcome, their verdict, no matter what it is?
Yes.
And have you ruled out a pardon for your son?
Yes.
There's so many, embarrassing things that have been brought up in this trial. How does the president and his family handle that while supporting Hunter?
Well, it's a tricky dance to do, Jose. I think that you're seeing a lot of support, obviously, from the family. The mere fact that the First Lady is flying back and forth between France and Wilmington is evidence of how much this case means to the First family and how committed they are to helping their son. The timing is a little bit weird for them, because it is coming at a time when people are starting to tune in a little more. They're starting to pay attention. This is a guy who has gone through a lot, obviously, in his life. It is going to bring a lot of empathy, I think, from some people. And I think from some people, they'll say, what's going on here with this First family? But I think, you're seeing the campaign kind of keep its distance from this case. And yet I think it's a very important thing. I know that the president is keeping an eye on it from France. And I think they'll continue to kind of show this is a big contrast from what they did in 2020, which was keep a distance from Hunter Biden at a time when he was struggling. But now you're seeing a full court kind of press support for their son. And I think that will continue going forward.
So, Barbara, based on how the prosecution laid out its case, would it be in Hunter's interest to testify?
Oh, I think not. I mean, that's always kind of the Hail Mary for the defense. I suppose if he were to get on the stand and testify and say, I was in recovery at the time I filled out that form, I didn't believe that I was an addict or that I was using, then I suppose that is enough to create reasonable doubt. But I think it also opens him up to an awful lot of cross-examination, confrontation with these text messages where he admits to using, a confrontation with some of the other misconduct that he has been accused of, including tax violations, which would be used to undermine his credibility. So it's certainly an important question that his lawyer will no doubt discuss with him. But when one testifies in one's own defense, it certainly exposes them to allowing the jury to find out even more bad facts about the person that they could ultimately hold against them.